Welcome to our English Learning Podcast. Today, we'll follow Emma and Liam as they arrive at a historical museum. Emma, can you set the scene for us?
Absolutely. The entrance was grand, with stone columns and banners announcing a new exhibition. Visitors were greeted by friendly staff, and the ticket counter was decorated with images of ancient artifacts, making us feel like we were stepping into history.
That sounds inviting. Liam, what were your first impressions as you walked in?
I noticed the soft lighting and the polished wooden floors. The museum lobby was filled with maps and timelines, helping us understand the different periods on display. It was clear that a lot of care had been put into creating a welcoming atmosphere.
Let's move to the first gallery. Emma, what kind of artifacts did you see in the ancient section?
We saw pottery that was discovered in archaeological digs, statues that were carved from marble, and tools that had been used thousands of years ago. Each item was displayed in a glass case, and detailed descriptions were provided.
Liam, can you describe one object that caught your attention, using some descriptive language?
Sure, one vase looked incredibly fragile and was beautifully painted with scenes of daily life. According to the placard, it was created in the 6th century BC and had been preserved remarkably well.
That's a great example. Notice how Liam used the passive voice, was created, and had been preserved. Museum displays often include written descriptions. Emma, how did you and Liam use these when exploring?
We stopped to read the descriptions next to each artifact. For example, one sign explained that a bronze helmet was worn by soldiers during ancient battles. We learned that it had been discovered in a ruined temple.
That's a great way to practice using the past tense and passive voice. Liam, did you ask questions about the exhibits while reading?
Definitely. I often asked, "What was this used for?" Or, "When was it made?" These questions helped us focus on the historical context and the stories behind each object.
Many objects in museums have been restored or preserved. Emma, can you explain the difference between these two terms?
Of course. If something is preserved, it has been kept safe in its original condition as much as possible. If it's restored, experts have repaired or rebuilt parts to return it to its former appearance.
Liam, did you see any examples of restored artifacts during your visit?
Yes, we saw a mosaic floor that had been restored. Some tiles had been replaced to show how the original design looked. I was impressed by how closely the new tiles matched the old ones.
Let's transition to the sculpture hall. Emma, how did you feel walking among the statues?
It was inspiring. The sculptures were mostly of historical figures and mythical creatures. Many were carved from marble and were displayed on tall pedestals. Some were missing arms or noses, but that made them seem even more ancient.
Liam, can you describe one sculpture and its historical background?
Certainly. One statue represented an ancient athlete. According to the information card, it was created in the 5th century BC and was discovered during an excavation in Greece in the 1800s.
Moving on to paintings, Emma, what were some common themes or techniques you noticed?
Many paintings depicted historical events or daily life. I noticed that bright colors were used to show clothing and landscapes. Some paintings were created using oil paints, while others had been painted with natural pigments.
Liam, how did the museum help visitors understand the art?
Each painting was accompanied by a description explaining the artist's technique and the time period. One sign explained that a portrait was painted during the Renaissance and had been restored after being damaged in a fire.
Describing artifacts clearly is important for learners. Emma, can you give an example of a descriptive sentence using the passive voice?
Certainly. This necklace was made from gold and was worn by royalty. Here, was made and was worn both used the passive voice to focus on the object and its history.
Liam, can you add another example? Perhaps using adjectives to enhance your description?
Of course. The ancient mask was beautifully decorated with feathers and beads. This sentence uses descriptive adjectives, and the passive form was decorated.
Many modern museums use technology for interactive learning. Emma, did you and Liam try any digital exhibits?
Yes, we used tablets that were provided at the entrance. These devices showed 3D models of artifacts, and we could listen to audio guides in English. Some displays even allowed us to zoom in on details or see objects as they originally appeared.
Liam, how did these tools help you understand the exhibits?
They made learning more engaging. For example, A damaged vase was digitally restored on the screen, so we saw what it might have looked like centuries ago. The use of technology really brought history to life for us.
Visiting museums often leads to deeper cultural understanding. Emma, how did this experience shape your view of history?
I realized that each artifact has a story to tell, and many cultures contributed to our shared history. Seeing objects that were created and used long ago made me appreciate how much has been preserved.
Liam, did any exhibit make you reflect on your own cultural background?
Yes, seeing artifacts from different regions reminded me of my own family's traditions. It made me think about how customs are passed down and how museums help keep those memories alive.
To wrap up, we have a mini speaking challenge for our listeners. Emma, can you explain the task?
Sure. Imagine you visited a museum. Describe one artifact you saw using the past tense and passive voice. For example, the sword was discovered in a castle and was displayed in a special case.
Great example, Emma. Liam, do you have another suggestion for listeners?
Try to include adjectives and details like, a colorful tapestry was created in the 1700s and had been restored by experts. The more descriptive you are, the better your practice will be.
We hope this episode inspires you to talk about your own cultural experiences using English. Until next time, keep exploring and keep practicing.